Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Khalil Doheny, and I'm head of content at Digital Niche Agency. Today, I have the founders of Motobyo. Team, how are you guys doing today?
Well, great.
Good, great. Thank you.
Awesome. George, Ron, before we, dive into things, do you want to give a background of yourselves and, tell us where you're tuning in from and what we can expect from today's webinar?
Sure. We are based in Horsham, Pennsylvania. Both George and I live in Bucks County outside of Philadelphia, which is one of the reasons why when we launched the business, our original focus was there, although our ambitions are obviously much greater than that. A little bit about my background. The first part of my career was larger corporate roles at institutions like Citibank and Advanta and Chevy Chase Bank. And then about halfway through my career, my entrepreneurial spirit took over and I started working with venture-backed private equity firms, responsible as an operating CEO for a couple of companies, managed through acquisitions and exits and building teams and scaling companies. So I've got some experience both in startups and turnarounds, which lends itself to this effort. And it's one of the reasons why I'm here. George?
Yeah. So my background is mainly automotive. So not mainly, really all. It's the only places I've ever been employed is at automotive dealerships, including my own. I launched an online-only company in 2001, which I closed in January of 2021 in preparations for getting Motobyo funded, building our technology, doing that stuff, getting ready for launch. 30 plus years in the automotive space, and a lot of the lessons that I learned there in the automotive industry kind of led us to the solutions that we offer on Motobyo, and that kind of was the basis of what we started building solutions for consumers for.
Awesome. Well, this webinar is going to be a great opportunity for those in attendance today to learn more about Motobyo, learn more about their mission, and they're a little bit about the crowdfunding campaign that they currently have on Net Capital, to give you more of an insider look. With that being said, I'm just going to hand the mic back to you two, and if you want to just take it from there and just explain everything about Motobyo and what really excites you, with the campaign going.
Sure. So I think, one of the things we'll do is just sort of set kind of broadly the topics that we're going to be covering. We're going to talk about the original formation of the company, how we came together to work on this and what that, how that worked. George is going to talk about the value proposition itself. I'll spend some time at the end talking about the business model and the reasons why, we're both so excited, actually the entire team so excited about this as a company and as an investment opportunity. The one headline that I would give you guys is, before George dives into this, when we first started talking about the value proposition, my first initial reaction and the reason why I jumped in this and became involved was because it sounded too good to be true. And in the early days of working with George, I kept thinking, does the value proposition really hold up this well? And now it's 3.5 or so years later, and it's still as good and as fresh and as meaningful today as it was then. So that's one of the reasons why I continue to be excited about this and why I view this as a significant opportunity, because both the value proposition and the business model really are both compelling. I'll let George talk about the business, though.
Yeah, so to start with, Motobyo is a peer-to-peer marketplace where consumers come to buy and sell cars. And we kind of started down this path while I was still had a dealership and was in control of purchasing vehicles for the dealership. It was my job to obviously buy them from multiple different sources, but I ended up buying a lot of vehicles back from consumers that I had sold them to. A couple of years later, they're done with the car. Could have been a part-time car or a life situation change, something like that. And I ended up buying the car back from them. In addition to building out a really good private party plan where an advertising program where we bought a lot of vehicles back from the public. Even customers that weren't my previous customers. So in doing so and operating like that for a dozen years, buying a lot of cars from the public, one thing became really clear when we're polling these customers. Many of them tried to sell their car privately already and had failed. It had failed for a lot of reasons that it's very easy for a dealership to get over. And that was kind of the basis and the beginning concepts of Motobyo is, how do we put together a peer-to-peer program and help customers, sellers. It started with sellers, but help sellers of pre-owned vehicles overcome these obstacles and overcome these roadblocks and get their vehicles sold and not just given away to a dealership or sold for a below wholesale price, an offer, but get sold for the right price. Not only the right price for them, but also, there's so many inefficiencies in this market, and the used car market is antiquated. It operates much as it did when Henry Ford was buying and selling cars. The same kind of industry middlemen, and it's no fault of theirs. It's just the way that the system operates. But there's many hands that touch a trade-in when it gets traded into a dealership or when a wholesale dealer buys a car for cash. There's so many hands that are on it, and so many hands that need to make a little bit of money along the way, that by the time the car, a $12,000 trade-in hits the retail market, it's a $17,000 or $18,000 car, and that's a 50% margin in just inefficiencies there. So that's, like I said, the basis of what we started putting together at Motobyo is, how do we get more money for the seller of a vehicle, but then also save the buyer money in the meantime. Not only save them money on that particular vehicle that they've been searching for, but have vehicles on our marketplace and offer vehicles to the public that aren't normal vehicles at a dealership. And by that I mean, like, not everything is a 3-year-old off-lease Toyota Camry or Honda Accord or something like that. These are a little bit older, which makes them a little more unique, makes them a little more affordable. And right now, the way that this economy is kind of moving forward this year and interest rates rising and all of that, affordability plays a big part into shoppers out there shopping on the used car market right now. So plenty of those roadblocks and obstacles that were stopping private party sellers before, we've put in place solutions to help customers get their vehicles sold. And right there on your phone, on an app, quick and easy. So I'll elaborate a little bit. I think I should probably be filling in some of the blanks here. So to start with, consumers need access to loans, to funds, right? And so in the past, when you've listed your vehicle on a private party marketplace or a social media platform that offers no help to a consumer, to your buyer, sellers fail on those platforms. It's because the buyer has no help, no support. They don't know how to complete the transaction. They don't know about the paperwork. They can't handle their own DMV services. There's no trust in the system. There's no pre-purchase inspections, extended warranty products to protect their investment, financing and everything. And so Motobyo puts all those things right at the fingertips of both buyers and sellers. And to start with, it's building trust in the process and building trust in the transaction. Most private party sales that happen today happen within just a couple zip codes of each other. That's because there's no real trust in the transaction. The buyer of the vehicle can't trust the seller's description. They don't trust the photos that they see online. They don't trust the description or the whether it's a written description or over the phone description. They need to come and see the vehicle themselves. That's why they're not willing to travel more than a few zip codes, because they've wasted their time, plenty of times. You read horror stories online about people traveling from states away to purchase a vehicle and it wasn't as described, and they turned around and it was a complete waste of time. Or worse, they bought something that wasn't as described and had a disastrous problem with it. So what we started with, is an ID verification process for everybody who signs up for the website, so that we know, and consumers, whether you're a seller or a buyer, you can rest assured that the person that you're communicating with is an ID verified person. So we started down this trust process with that. First things first, you got to be able to trust that the person on the other end of the chat or the person on the other end of the phone, you can be sure that that's really the person. But in addition to that, we partnered with Firestone, Midas, and Meineke. Firestone, we've got a national account with 3,000 stores where they perform a pre-purchase inspection, an independent third-party inspection, so that we can give potential buyers of the vehicle, and those are live right there on our website for anybody who's opted to do that. But for any potential buyers of the vehicle, to give them peace of mind that the vehicle that was described to them, that's what they're getting. In addition to that, Midas and Meineke, they back those checkups nationwide. So if they write an estimate and say that this Honda needs $400 worth of work here in Philadelphia, and say I'm in Florida and I buy it and I ship it home, well, I could take it to my local Midas or Meineke. I've got a repair order number, and they've got an estimate to repair it, and I can get it repaired anywhere for that estimate. So the pre-purchase inspection was a big thing. Also, the ability to add extended warranty, extended service contract products was a really big deal. That's a game changer for somebody looking to purchase a pre-owned vehicle on the private party market, because, while you can get online and you could Google around and try to find an extended warranty product for your used car, I don't think a lot of people trust those, and for good reason. I mean, a lot of those, there's a lot of fine print on a contract like that. So what we've done is we've really simplified the process. We offer 3 different levels of coverage for every vehicle that's for sale on the website, regardless of its age and its mileage. And we break those coverages down for you right there online: the good, the bad, and the ugly. What's good about a low-level contract, what it covers and what it doesn't, including a PDF of what the real contract is, so you can read it word for word yourself. But in layman's terms, what's covered and really what's not. Where are your loopholes, and what does opting for the next level of coverage really get you? And that's been a real game changer for some of our buyers, because knowing that you can purchase a vehicle from a private party, you could buy it for less than a retail price, but you could still protect it like with an exclusionary coverage a warranty contract that's very similar to a manufacturer's, is a big deal. In addition to every other service that you need when you go to buy a car, whether it's automobile insurance or 50-state DMV service. If you purchase the vehicle from out of state, you're not really familiar about how that DMV works or how do you register the vehicle, we can help you with that. So we partner with a company that does that nationwide, handles it overnight, temporary license plates, the whole 9 yards. Basically, register the car. If you're shipping it home, most times that happens before you even get the vehicle home. So that's a big deal. And then any other little thing. We started with about 10 or 12 solutions for what a private party seller really needed to provide to a buyer for both to be successful. And we really found out that by providing those solutions to the seller to help the seller sell, to open up their market so now it's not just your local zip codes, but somebody from a little further away will trust your description, because now you've got an independent third-party inspector telling you that this is what you're getting. This is the actual car, and this is the actual today's condition. So in giving all of those solutions to a seller and assisting them in selling their car for the right price, it really has every one of them has helped a buyer, and we found that when you do that, you have a heck of a quality marketplace where everybody's happy. Basically, you're satisfying two consumers per transaction.
Yeah. Anything else related to the business or value proposition?
No, I think I've talked long enough. But one other thing I'll add that I think is a big plus about the Motobyo platform and the way that we've set up this business. We've set it up and with always in mind thinking about rapid scalability as far as a business goes. So we've got an instant cash offer platform where a consumer who doesn't either have the time to sell their vehicle privately, if they don't want to do that, maybe they've even tried to do it and they failed and they're just done with the process. They just want to take a cash offer. So we've partnered with, in the Philadelphia area, we've got 30 or 34 buying centers signed up that will write you a check right now. You can schedule an appointment and go there in 3 minutes and cash out of your car. We'll make you an offer that's good for 10 days. So you can launch an auction on our platform that's good for 7. And if somehow, some way in 7 days, if we can't get you a private party consumer to pay you a little bit more for your car, you've still got that backstop. Your car is still sold. If you decide to list it on Motobyo, you can start cleaning it out because you're guaranteed to sell it if we've made you an offer on it. But the key about that is we're not buying the cars ourselves. We've partnered with people that do that for a living. We've partnered with Firestone and Midas and Meineke and other companies that already have a national presence for a reason. That's because when we launched our beta test here in our home market in Philadelphia. And when we grow up out of here, it's not going to take further infrastructure for us to do that. It's basically, there's a model behind our digital advertising and social media and things that we need to do to kick off a market. And when we go to our next market, we can duplicate and replicate that so fast. And that's part of the reason that we're raising our next round of capital here is because we're growing out of this Philadelphia market and we're ready to, we can double the size of the business very rapidly and then double and double and double and double as we, open new markets across the country. We're already, even though we're barely out of a beta test here, from the market testing that we've done here in Philadelphia, we're already growing out of the Philadelphia proper area to a larger market already. So it's, the testing that we've done even outside our area looks fantastic. I mean, we've got vehicles on the website right now, really from around the country, from California to Maine and everywhere in between.
What other markets are you intending to expand to?
Well, we're in one of the hottest markets in the United States right now. And when we get Philadelphia settled out, I believe, we'll stay in the Northeast here. Virginia, DC, that area is roughly the size of Philadelphia. When you look at population, you look at average household incomes, things like that. A lot of demographics look really good. Then we've got a couple different markets in New York between Long Island and upstate New York. We've got Boston, Pittsburgh, a little bit of Ohio, and then we head south and probably Atlanta, the handful in Florida before we do Chicago and Dallas, Houston, and those other huge areas.
Yeah, actually, and George alluded to it, one of the things that we've been doing over the last 60 days while we have been focusing in the Philly DMA, the Northeast, we've actually been conducting a test, and we've generated thousands of leads and hundreds of signups in 46 states. If you take a look at the map, it's pretty heavily sort of weighted, if you will, from east of the Mississippi, but we are in 46 states. And so, large metropolitan areas, Dallas, Houston, Chicago, Kansas City, Nashville. I mean, major markets, those are the things that would be on our radar screen over the course of the next couple of years.
Awesome.
I think, as George described this, I think, one of the things that I'll do, and then we'll open this up to questions, because obviously one of the reasons why we're here is to talk about, this is an investment opportunity, and maybe just thinking about this as we got started, maybe the best way to do this is to personalize this from my perspective, because I'm the first investor. I'm the first investor because when George and I first started talking about this, what I saw, and I think about this from a CEO's operating perspective, and having been a CEO and a board member and managed through acquisitions and exits, I feel like even though I'm an operator, I think about it as an investor and what the outcome of that is, how you build a company, how you build value. And building value is really the fundamental of that is building a great company. And the things that attracted me, or probably 3 or 4 things that attracted me. First, I was drawn to the fact that we have a 2-sided transaction where both parties win, and actually 3 parties win, because the seller can sell for more. We give them the opportunity to do that. A buyer can save money, and we have a partnership where a partner can make money. And in a lot of my experience, partners don't always have the benefit that our partners have. So we have mutually aligned interest together. I thought that was compelling. So a very strong value proposition. The fact that, as George alluded to, we're not taking possession of the vehicle, and we've got this partnership network. We've got a phenomenal amount of financial leverage. So we've got this very strong value proposition. We've got a compelling business model. Those 2 things are unique in my mind, because again, as an operator, I've been in situations where you're, one may be a little stronger than the other. I feel like in this situation, we have two really very, very significant, substantial value proposition and business models. And then there are 40 million used cars that are basically bought and sold roughly each year. So we're in the demand fulfillment business, not the demand generation business. I've been accustomed to having to manage a sales process where you're always trying to find volume. There's a lot of volume in this marketplace. And when then you realize that the top 100 used car dealers in the country only have 10% of the market share, it says that there's even more opportunity in the market. So as we think about our, building our digital ad capabilities and ultimately layering branding on top of that and expanding into markets, I think there's a huge multiplier effect, not only as it relates to the business, but our growth prospects in general. Those are the things that captured my imagination as I thought about this as the first investor. I thought, you know what, I'm going to put a stake in the ground because I believe that there is a great company that can be built from this. And obviously, I still feel that way today. And it's one of the reasons why we're going through this process to continue to build the company. And, the other sort of, it's not a breakthrough, but as I've gotten more acquainted with how I see the opportunity, if you look at the marketplace today, it's very transaction platform oriented. Which is natural and necessary because we've got to bring sellers and buyers to the platform. But over time, we'll add other services, other products, more flexibility, more revenue components. I kind of think about this, whether it's exactly the perfect description or not. I sort of think about ultimately we're going to grow into we're the auto Etsy of the auto industry. That's how I see the marketplace getting bigger and expanding from just today's transaction platform to something much broader with more broader auto-related, data-related assistance needs. The other thing that I thought about as it relates to the business is, again, personalizing it to myself as a buyer and a seller. I've never gone into that transaction. This is one of the things that came out of the early conversations with George. I've never either bought or sold a car where I didn't turn to someone because I don't know what I'm doing, but I've turned to a pro to help me. And what I realized in connecting the dots is that Motobyo can be the consumer's pro in their process of either looking to sell a car and get the most for that or do it as fast as they want, or for a buyer to get what they want and use us as an enabler to do that. So from your first investor, those were the things that I was thinking about.
Awesome. Well, I feel like we can open up the floor to some questions right now. I do see some questions coming in. Do want to throw out a disclaimer that due to SEC guidelines, there are some certain questions we have to avoid from answering. That's due to the financials, projections, the share price. If you have any questions around any of that, please check out the Net Capital page. All that information is there. I'm going to drop that raise page link here in the chat. So if you have any of those questions and would like them to get answered, check it out on the raise page. There's also a discussion section on that raise page. So leave your comments there and the team will get back to you. Right. The first question I see here, Ron, I know you already answered part of this. It says, what would you say are the top 3 reasons to invest in Motobyo?
Well, my top 3 reasons are, and I'm gonna actually say 4 because I think there's another that I didn't talk about that is important. My top 3 reasons: the size of the market, 40 million used cars bought and sold every year, very consistently in a highly fragmented market. A value proposition where 2 parties or 3 parties win. And I like the fact when people ask, what do you do? We're a company that helps get a seller, give the seller an opportunity to get more for their vehicle, and we save money. That sounds like a really winning proposition to me. So, that's the second reason. And then the third reason is the financial flexibility that we've got. Because we have an asset-free model, we don't have to have a line of credit, buying and selling vehicles. We don't have the pricing and depreciation risks that go along with the ownership of that. And Most importantly, with that flexibility is the partnership network that was really, George's mastermind early on when we were making decisions about how we set the business up, because we're relying on other people's expertise, best in class expertise, but most importantly, we're relying on their market reach. So when we do start thinking about being in Atlanta or Orlando or Tampa or Nashville, we don't have to build buildings. We don't have to have infrastructure and logistics. All we have to do is turn on our Google ads and our Facebook ads, and we're in a market. The final thing that we haven't referenced, but actually is very, very relevant, I think any startup, this is pretty important in any startup, is that we have a very experienced team. Not only George and I, George's, my experience in having built companies and George's experience in the automotive industry, but our CFO has 20 plus years of experience and has, over the course of the last 5 to 7 years, managed multiple exits successfully. So he's been there and done that. And our CTO is a seasoned veteran. We actually built the platform. Again, very important. When we initially were building or constructing the company and the technologies, Steve Giovanelli, our CTO, was responsible for that. And we were able to convince him to come on board full time. Steve is both a CTO and a CEO. He started and exited his own businesses. So you've got a very, very strong team of senior individuals that, in my mind, have kind of been there and done that.
Awesome. And then another person asks is, how many users roughly would you say you are using your platform currently?
Well, so I watch this every day. So we look at the metrics like this: how many web visitors are we getting on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? How many leads are we generating in terms of how many vehicles are we pricing? How many of those leads are turning into account signups, into transactions, and obviously cars listed on the site or vehicles listed on the site. In May, we'll have about 27 to 30,000 web hits. We'll have about 4,000 leads come through the platform. We're going to sign up about 500 to 550 accounts. We have about 100. We have a little more than 100 cars listed on the site right now, and we'll process about 60 or so transactions.
And then can you go into the various verticals of your company and if you're planning to expand? I know we talked a little bit about that in the beginning of the call, but if there's anything further you want to discuss.
I'm sorry, verticals?
Yes.
George, you want to take it?
Sure. I mean, I think for future development plans, what we plan to do with Motobyo is have Moto be a destination for anybody who's researching. Right now, it's people obviously researching, they want to sell their vehicle or they're interested in trading it in. So they're coming to us for values. In the future, though, in the very near future, it's going to be a place where you could come to buy and sell really anything automotive, from tools and parts and things like that to all your needs. We've got a product store that's launching next month that's going to give you the ability to purchase anything a la carte. So if you were buying a vehicle from a neighbor and you needed somebody to help you with your DMV services, you need an extended warranty, you want a pre-purchase inspection for a vehicle that you bought across the country or from your neighbor, we can help you with all of that. Really anything that you need automotive we'll have, and including partner discounts and deals and things like that for members that'll be available in your dashboard. But then on top of that is going to be a project that we've gotten started on, is called an insights project. For us, that's basically vehicle research. About 250 pieces of data per vehicle built from 1981, which is the year they started with a 17-digit VIN, till now. A place where you could come and research and really side by side do comparisons and shop for any kind of vehicle that you can imagine, and then find like vehicles like that for sale on Motobyo. In addition to getting alerted when somebody prices a car, even if they're not really sure they even want to sell it yet. We've got a matchmaker service that we've been working on where we're going to match people with people that are just really browsing and looking for maybe something in their wish list, and people that are thinking about possibly selling in the future and starting to collapse that timeline and put people together quickly. So those are a couple of big projects that are coming up that I would say are, in addition to data projects and things like that we've got for the future. I would say that those are our next couple of big ones.
Yeah, I mean, I would I'll add to that by saying, obviously today's focus is on the building our inventory and building traction around the everyday car, all the cars that we're driving, the Toyotas and Nissans and Hondas and Lexuses and BMWs and Mercedes. But we certainly are already talking about expanding probably before the end of the year and beginning to include specialty cars of some sort, just because, it's interesting, it's unique. We think that it would probably help drive traffic and sort of support our SEO ambitions. So that's probably a place that we'll get, longer term. We have in the past talked about motorcycles and RVs and boats. And I think that's a possibility, but I think we'd have to think long and hard about that. I think there are more services that we can branch out from auto to be this broad and inclusive auto transacting and servicing brand before we do things like that. But you know what, I think we'll let success dictate where that takes us.
Awesome. And can you share more information on your partnerships?
Sure. Well, as George mentioned before, we've got for car inspection, we've got partnerships with Midas Meineke, Firestone nationally, and Your Mechanic to support our white glove service. We use Credible. They're our financing partner. We use a company called North American Auto Care as our extended mechanical protection partner. George referenced earlier identity verification. We use Ekata, a national brand for that. We use Assertus along with our own internal efforts. We use Assertus for national DMV servicing and
Zebra for insurance,
and of course Carfax and AutoCheck for vehicle history.
Awesome.
And really. And those are the consumer facing. I think this is another important point. Those are our consumer facing brands. We have a host of brands behind the scenes, in terms of our digital partners, our Facebook partners, our various, marketing and operating partners. I mean, there are another half dozen to dozen brands behind the scenes, because if you look at the business in total, we actually have 11 employees, but when I look at the breadth of our technology, our engineering group, our Q&A groups, if you look at all of the resources that are working on the company right now, we have somewhere between 45 and 50 people that contribute on some full-time or fractional basis to support what we're doing right now.
Awesome. In 2023, what has been Motobyo's biggest challenge, and how did you overcome that as a company?
Biggest challenge. What's your biggest challenge?
Well, so I oversee a couple of different departments here, and so one of them is I kind of work hand in hand with our CTO Steve Giovanelli on technology, and it seems like since we launched our beta, we've made many changes. And if people that are on this call today were on our website 3 months ago or 6 months ago, they would really not recognize it. We've changed really every square inch of it from what we had as an MVP, and knew that it was a workable, usable product. But what's been invaluable to us is real consumer feedback. And things that we thought were important and we thought were number 1, 2, 3 on people's lists turned out to not be, and things surprise you every week. And I think some of our biggest challenges have been that really just quantifying really what we've learned from direct consumer feedback and customers using the website, and translating that into technology build and deployment. And we've been extremely lucky with our technology team is second to none. We put out a major release really every 2 weeks, and if we need to more often than that, and I should knock on wood now. Everything really has gone off without a hitch. We've got an incredible team of professionals working. So I would say that quantifying and putting into action consumer feedback.
Yeah, I would agree. I was going to I'll echo George's comments because, again, I think this is a pretty important message because a lot of my experience in startups, you've got the marketing and or sales challenge of trying to build a business, and you've got probably a slightly half-baked technology or operating platform, and you're always kind of playing catch up, trying to pair them up. This actually is an interesting startup in that way, in that our technology platform and the operating platform are very, very strong. So I feel confident about our ability to scale because we can support that. I think as I was thinking about that, very, very closely aligned to what George just described. I think it's the learning from the consumer, because again, it's a marketplace, and a marketplace is, it lives and it evolves. And I think we are still working on our messaging. It's gotten dramatically better from where we were because the consumer's given us enough information and pointed us in a direction that I think, we're getting closer and closer to it. And I also think that we have to, we're learning ourselves because we have so many opportunities that we can give sellers and buyers. Our instinct is to give them as much as we can and show them all of these options. But what the consumer keeps telling us is, no, just tell me the best way. The consumer doesn't always want a choice. They just want to know what the best choice is. So I think we've learned a lot there, but it's certainly clear to me that, for the remainder of this year, we'll continue to learn a lot more. And in the way that the marketplace and the website has evolved in, this short period of time, it'll obviously, by the end of this year, it will have gone through another sort of evolution.
Awesome. I have a question here. How big is the market opportunity right now? And why is this the right time, for Motobyo?
I'm going to jump on that, and you can follow me because I think there are a couple of components of this. I've mentioned this before, and I look at it both nationally and then by market. As I've said, there are 40 million used cars bought and sold every year, and essentially every year. So there's a very consistent market at that level, and then if you kind of break that down and you think about that from market to market, as an example, in the Philly market, they're around 220 to 240,000 cars that are bought and sold, on an annual basis. And then if you think about what our growth prospects are going forward, we can have an idea about how many cars are bought and sold in New York and in Pittsburgh and in Charlotte and on and on and on. And in each of those markets, the way that I think about this is, there are this many cars that are bought and sold. And if you think about our market share, having mentioned before that it's a highly fragmented market, if we just look at each of these markets and over some spectrum of time that I'm not sure that I can talk about, that we simply achieve penetration rates or sales success rates of 25 basis points to 50 basis points to 1%, we're talking about thousands of transactions in each market and then across the country. So one of the things that I think about from a growth standpoint, and one of the things that I believe is encouraging to me about our growth prospects, is we don't have to have 30% market share to be a big company. If we had a 1% market share in the 20, 30, 40 markets that we hope to be in over a spectrum of time, that's tens of thousands of transactions. That's how I think about that.
Awesome. And while we're coming here to the end, let's talk about, the crowdfunding campaign. Why did you guys decide to go the equity crowdfunding route and not through a VC?
Oh, well, you know what? I think there are a couple of reasons, but one of the reasons, probably the primary reason that ended up taking us down this path, there's an anecdotal reason that I will follow up on. But the primary reason that we decided to go down this path was because we knew that we were going to have a marketing partner, DNA, and process to support this. And given that we were conducting this test nationally in the 48 states and now operating in 46, that there was a certain amount of branding support and lift that we would be able to provide to the business. So a bit of two stones here. We could get word out as it related to our crowdfunding and bringing capital in, but we could also support the brand as we are doing our digital marketing across the country to attract sellers. So it was a branding support decision. And then, one of the other sort of nice reasons, if you will, is in my estimation, the business model is about every person. This marketplace is about helping everyone, the everyday consumer. And it just kind of made sense that, if we're going to be supporting the brand, certainly that process makes sense. And so why wouldn't we want to be as inclusive as we possibly could be? Because that won't be the case forever. Obviously, I'm sure that, there'll be another day where we're more suited or better suited for a venture firm or an institutional investor. But for now, we thought this made sense. And, our experience having done this before is that so many consumers identify with the whole buying and selling of a car because we all do it. So when we talk about you can get more or you can save money or we can help you, that resonates in an individual level.
Any final remarks before we hop off here today? What is one last thing, someone who's on this webinar is on the fence of, becoming an investor? What is one thing you want them to leave this webinar with?
It seems like we've kind of gone over quite a bit of everything. I mean, the way that I look at it is, every time that you go to a dealership or you trade in your vehicle or you buy a vehicle, the fees that everybody is used to paying to buy and sell a car, to now be able to come on to Motobyo and actually save money or get more money. We're allowing people to jump in on net capital for less than the cost of a nice pair of sneakers. And 1/5 the cost of the paperwork fee you're about to pay at a dealership if you're out looking for a car. So I think the barrier to entry, we've kept that really low to let people in, to give everybody an opportunity, to grow as we grow.
Yeah, I think again, it's also one of the other reasons why I'll probably describe it like this. It's one of the reasons why I became an investor. And I don't think we've really talked about this today. If you look at this company, it's interesting because we're an interesting hybrid as a technology-based company, but we obviously are a marketing company as well. We have to have strong marketing capabilities. But the other thing that we have to do to be successful is we also have to understand the market. George has talked about his experience. What we haven't described is there's another 70 or 80 years worth of experience here in the company as it relates to our buying process. We have individuals that have, again, almost 100 years of retail buying and selling experience. And I think that is worth something because in other situations, I'm not sure that I see that fully come out. And I think that kind of learning or that kind of experience not only is helpful to the platform, but it's consistent with what we're trying to do for our consumers, our sellers, and our buyers.
Awesome. One last question is here. Story behind the name.
Oh, that's brutal.
Well, we knew this was going to be a buy owner marketplace. So the BYO we always thought was like, it's not bring your own, like taking your bottle of wine to a store. we always, we that was in my head and our heads collectively, when Motobyo was a concept, on a napkin. So the BYO was definitely always going to be part of that. And rather than doing auto or, something that, car something, we thought that Motobyo was a cool name and basically allowed us, to expand into other things as well and not be tied down to just specifically auto.
Yeah.
But BYO, everybody kind of thinks that it means bring your own. We've had marketing people will say like, well, buy your own, bring your own, like Motobyo is for like normal, regular consumers, so it means something, I guess, a little bit different to depending on who we're talking to. But BYO was always about, by owner.
A lot of conversations, but it was always about, okay, let's not just follow the pack related to auto or cars or whatever. Let's not have some spin on that. Let's stand apart. And I wasn't exactly enamored with it initially, but as I thought about it, again, from kind of a strategic perspective, this is a marketplace that has an opportunity to stand apart. And I thought the name, as I thought more about it, like so did the name. So that's how we.
I don't think we had a second choice, though. I don't think. No. I think that we kind of like threw everything else off of the table immediately as soon as somebody threw it on the table, and while we were discussing names, and all, I don't think there was really a close second.
Yeah, and anecdotally, there was actually an exercise that I ran because I paid for a service online, and I saw thousands and thousands of names over, I think, a 1 month period, thousands of names, and there was nothing that came close. So that was the winner.
Awesome. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for your time today. I want to thank the audience for joining the webinar. And if you weren't able to attend the webinar, don't worry. This whole webinar has been recorded this whole time. So we will be posting a whole recap video around the webinar. So stay tuned for that. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I'm going to send the link here one more time for those who came in late. There's the raise page link. Check it out. A lot of great information on there. Stay up to date with Motobyo and what they're doing there. And yeah, I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for hosting.
Yep. Thanks.
Have a good one. Bye.
Yep.